Hello and welcome to Inside China Auto. Today we've got a really exciting drive for you. A first drive, very quick one, here in the brand new IM L7. Now many of you may not know what an IM is, so let me tell you. IM is a joint venture between SAIC, one of China's biggest car companies, and also Alibaba, of course, one of China's largest tech companies. They were only formed in December 2020, 18 months ago, and this, the L7, is their first ever car. And of course, it's a premium electric saloon, and it's a full-size electric saloon, which means that it's going up against the Tesla Model S and also the NIO, the much-awaited NIO ET7, which of course was released very recently. They're very similar in terms of size. It's 5.1 meters long, 4 millimeters shorter than an ET7. It's also slightly shorter and slightly narrower, but has a longer wheelbase, 3.1 meters, which is 4 centimeters longer than that on the ET7. Now, what else can I tell you about it? It's, of course, as you can see from the side there, it's got a chassis honed by Williams Advanced Engineering, which means that it should be pretty good around the corners compared to other Chinese cars that have a little bit less feel in the steering. We'll be hoping to try and get a little bit of that out of the car whilst we test it, but I can't guarantee anything because we're just going to be on the streets of Xi'an today. It's not going to be a full test. As I said, it's only a battery electric vehicle, so there's no hybrids involved here. It's pure battery electric, which is great. 93 kilowatt hour battery, 475 kilowatts of power in total. Sorry, 425 kilowatts, 175 on the front, 250 on the back. It starts at 368,800 RMB. That's about $54,000. And it goes up to 408,800 RMB, which is about $60,000, 62 I believe. That makes it cheaper than the ET7, which starts at, I believe, 448,000 RMB, or about $65,000. Of course, the difference with the ET7 is that it has the battery as a service option, which can reduce the price by about 70,000 RMB, which would put it way back into the range of this. So the stalk is here on the side of the steering wheel. Put that into drive, check around, make sure we're good to go, and let's go and take it for a drive. Just about to drive past the Big Goose Pagoda on the left side. Now the first thing I've noticed is this steering wheel is very interesting because it's not actually a circular steering wheel. So the bottom is actually curved inwards, a bit like this kind of shape, and the steering wheel is a bit flat on the top, so it feels quite different to a normal steering wheel when you're already doing your turn. Okay, so here in the L7 we have twin motors, one on the front, one on the rear axle. That's the front one is 175 kilowatts, or about 235 horsepower. The one on the rear is 250 kilowatts, or 335 horsepower. It is down a little bit on the NIO ET7, which has 180 kilowatts on the front and 300 on the back. But it's absolutely enough. I would definitely say it's enough for a car of this weight, which is 2,290 kilograms, so just under 2.3 tons, that is 5 meters long. It provides in total 725 Newton meters of torque. Now that is good for a 0 to 60 mile per hour sprint of 3.87 seconds, which again is slightly slower than the NIO, which, as I mentioned, has more power, but only by 0.07 of a second. I believe that that's probably because this car is slightly lighter than the NIO, although I can't actually find weight measurements for the NIO, and I believe that's possibly because it's slightly on the porky side. It's also better at braking than the NIO and can do the 62 miles per hour to 0 miles per hour stop in just 32.69 meters, helped in no doubt by that weight and also by Brembo brakes on the front and on the rear. Again, the NIO also comes with Brembo brakes, but only does the 62 to 0 stop in 33.5 meters. So there's not really a lot in it between the two of them. It's really going to come down, I believe, to your taste in how the car looks and what you're looking for from a car. Now this car slides through the air particularly well. Again, slightly down on the NIO because the NIO has a 0.208 drag coefficient. The L7 has a 0.21 drag coefficient. Now, in terms of batteries, currently on the IM-L7 there is only a 93 kilowatt hour battery. That compares, again, as I said, to the NIO ET7, which has a choice. I believe it's either 70 or 75 for the smaller one, and a 100 kilowatt hour battery. They are, of course, going to have a 150 kilowatt solid state battery coming up in the future, which should provide some outstanding range for the NIO. But on this case, we just got the 93 kilowatt hour battery, and what that means is a driving range of 615 kilometers, which is about 380 miles, I believe. So not too bad. So currently we're showing 466, but I can't see what the battery percentage is at the moment. And that is currently showing on CLTC. I do believe that the 615 kilometer range is on the NEDC cycle, which again, because it's slightly smaller than the 100 kilowatt hour battery in the NIO, it means that it's slightly down, because I believe the NIO has 705 kilometers range. Nevertheless, 380 miles is pretty strong for a full battery electric car. The steering actually feels really quite nice compared to a lot of Chinese cars. There's a lot of feel in this steering. It does weight up quite nicely. I think the Williams advanced engineering has helped there. Of course, it's also four wheel steering, and that's supposed to really help it in those sort of dynamic twisty turns. That means that the rear wheels turn slightly in opposite directions to the front wheels, which also helps to give a smaller turning circle, which will be great in sort of parking situations. Now let's just test that steering out. It does feel very rooted. I'm not gonna say too much about, you know, the handling, but the steering does feel. It does feel good. It definitely feels more weighted than other Chinese saloons that I've seen. Now, one thing that's interesting about the L7 is that the front and rear wheels have a different width. So the front wheels are 245 millimeters wide. The rear wheels are 275 millimeters wide. So they're 3 centimeters wider on the back, which I believe will give you more of a rear drive bias, certainly in terms of handling. So I'm just going to negotiate a little bit of traffic here. Now, the great thing is with electric cars, you can just whip past people without actually having any concern. I'm going to turn right here. I can avoid that cyclist. It does feel racy, I have to say. It feels very nimble, very light on its feet, which is a great thing to have, you know, because battery cars are actually quite heavy. Now, of course, as I mentioned, it's got a chassis tuned by Williams Advanced Engineering. It's got that continuous damping control. It's not quite air suspension, I don't believe, but it does provide for a very good ride quality, I would say. You get 20-inch wheels on the Pro version as standard. On the ordinary version, you get 19-inch wheels, but they can be upgraded to the 20-inch wheels, which are pretty natty. They're very nice. They're two-tone, and they tend to come in a white and a black paint, which is quite stylish. You also get 50-50 weight distribution here in the L7, which should help its handling no end. And it comes shod with custom Pirelli P0 tyres. Okay, so in front of me, I'll tell you what I'm seeing. We've got our big screen across the top, which is a 39-inch screen. It's actually not 39 inches, it's two separate screens. I believe they're about 26 and 13 inches, so pretty much 66-33 split from my side. This one is definitely 26 inches across. It's quite slim, I'd say probably about 5 inches high. And directly in front we have basically the road. It's quite similar to what you would get in a Tesla, actually, where you can see actually the radar is identifying bikes on the left side. It's also identifying cars and buses, and unlike some other cars on the market, it is actually showing the various different ones. We can see a scooter going across there. It also identifies pedestrians. In the middle section here, we've got a very wide map. In the bottom corner on the right hand side, we can also see our music choice. I've got Adele turned off at the moment, but she was playing when we got in the car. And it's actually got 5G as well. And currently we're recording. So there are many different cameras on this car, and we're currently recording the journey. On the right side over there is the smaller screen. That's a 13-inch screen. That one plays videos and music, and it can have the audio coming out just from the speakers here in the passenger headrest. I've got two here as well, just behind me, that you can see. Okay, so let's talk about advanced driving assistance systems, so ADAS. Now I believe that the L7 is capable of level 2.5 autonomous driving, upgradable I believe to 3 as and when the conditions or the cities allow it, because it does come with LiDAR. It should have 2 LiDAR units. They may not be on the car just yet, I'm not certain on that, but they can be upgraded in the future. It also comes with 12 ultrasonic radars, the same as on an ET7, as well as 5 millimeter wave radars and 11 high definition cameras as well as 2 positioning units. It's powered by NVIDIA Jetson Xavier chipset. Now, I'm no techie expert in terms of chipsets. It's different, of course, to NIO's homegrown Aquila platform. Nevertheless, NVIDIA are a big name in terms of autonomous driving systems and technology, so I don't think it's going to be lacking, let's put it that way. In terms of the interior ambience, this car comes with 22 speakers. Now that's one less than the NIO ET7, which comes with 23 speakers. However, the NIO only pumps out 1,000 watts of musical ability, whereas the this one pumps out 1,120 watts. So there is a trump card there in terms of this car. Now, another interesting feature about this car is that it has wireless charging up to 11 kilowatt hours, which is something that can't be said about many other cars in this category. Having said that, of course, the ET7 does have the battery change ability, which can't be said about pretty much any other car in this band. Now, as you can see at the moment, we've got a car with the black interior. This is Napa leather. It's from Bavaria, from Bavarian cows. You also get on the dashboard, in the door inserts here, also some places in the back, you get Lake Como sourced Italian wood, which is quite a fancy thing. I mean, it feels smooth enough. Not sure entirely how much difference it makes, but it's a nice feature to have anyway. What you also get is really nice suede microfiber lining all around the upper edges of the car, and the leather is everywhere. It's on the door here, it's on the dashboard, on the top, on the door pockets, on the seats. The seats themselves are massage function equipped, as well as heated and ventilated, and the 2 rear seats in the back, the 2 outer seats in the back, have heating function as well. Now, one of the interesting things about the L7 is that it uses less clicky buttons, let's say. So what they actually use is touch sensitive buttons. The steering wheel in front of me has 5 touch sensitive buttons. On the sort of dashboard dividing line here, just below the integrated air vents, are 5 buttons that light up when you wave your hand over them. And they're, as I said, they're touch sensitive, so there's no click when you press them. You have to hold them down and feel the sort of the haptic feedback. It's the same for the windows here. I'll just do that there. And also some buttons here in the door, which you also get in the back, which in the front are for locking functions, opening the boot and locking the seat adjustment. In the rear, it's for turning on your heated seats, muting the sound in the car. They're also electric doors, so you have to press a button to open the doors electrically. There's no kind of handle, although the handles are actually buried down here deep in the door pockets. How do I feel about the touch-sensitive buttons? I'm not 100% certain. It's a nice feature. It'll be a different preference for everybody. They are prone to fingerprints, I would say. But I think more important than that is that they. Some people may prefer the tactile feel of a button, so it's going to be different for everybody, I would say. But nevertheless, this has been a very enjoyable car to drive, and I'm hoping that at some point we'll get the chance to test it a little bit more extensively. Okay, so whilst we've got the chance to talk here, while we're stopped, let's do a little bit of quick presentation about the inside of the car. Of course, as well as the 39-inch screen across the top, you've got a 12.8-inch AMOLED screen here in the middle, which is where you do most of your functions. It's also got, of course, voice operating assistance, so you can talk to the car and ask it to do certain things. Behind this screen here, you've got a sort of a large pocket with a sunglasses holder here, because there's no space for one up here. There are two USB-C ports down there, a 12V port and an SD card slot as well. You also get two equal size cup holders, nice that they're equal size for once, and a Qi wireless charging pad in the middle here, which when you put your phone on, just slides down to hold your phone better in place. And of course, you've got your armrest and your storage space in the middle as well. Here we've got a full length panoramic sunroof, which is also great because that lets a lot of light into the car. We of course today have the black leather fabric. It's also available in a sort of a white cream colour and in a brown colour as well, and I believe the car is available in white, black and red colours at the moment. We have electric operating doors, so there's no handle. If I press the button there, the door opens like this and my chair slides backwards. If I close the door again, brings me back to the driving position that I was in before, although maybe a slightly closer one. As I said, we've got the touch controls here on the dashboard. Two of these, if I press them, make the screens go down. You can just about see that over there. You've also got your favourites functions for the driver and for the passenger there, as well as parking assistance. I think you can only press these at this separately. Yes. We've got some here on the door. We've also got some cool buttons down here. So on the lights on the front and the rear are LED units with, I think it's 2.3 million different units on them, and they can actually project pictures onto the road and onto the floor. So there's one here that I can press this light and it will project a zebra crossing onto the road in front of the car, which is a nice little feature to tell someone, you know, please cross the road. Not sure how many people will use it, but nevertheless, it's a pretty cool feature. So overall, it's a very comfortable car. There's some great bolsters on the seats here, on the top and the bottom. As I said, heated, massage and ventilated functions on the two front seats. You get heated seats in the back. You get speakers here in the headrest. These are quite useful in the front two seats because you can basically have it so that the audio instructions from the sat-nav only are audible to the driver, so the passengers will not have their music disturbed by the sound of the sat-nav instructions, which is a nice little feature. Very slim sun visors with tiny little mirrors here, little micro magnetic signs on there as well. Yeah, lovely place to be. I would say that in the back, because it's quite a low car at just 1.48 meters tall and with a big battery pack underneath, what I would say is you don't get quite the same support under your thigh as you would do in sort of a full-size saloon or an SUV, of course. Nevertheless, it does make you feel quite low to the ground, and there's loads of legroom in the back as well. And that was the IM L7.